In the Jar football program, number 177. My name's Clark Dupree. I'm your host on this solo football podcast where we rant about the most recent football happenings. Today's feature discussion, Stefon Diggs not returning to the New England Patriots. Among many others, we got a lot of folks moving around. And we're going to take 30 minutes to an hour together here, trying to make sense of it all. Among many other things. You know that song, what's that G Herbo song? I can't remember what it's called, but it goes, yeah. I'm adding that onto the Instagram reels. I'll tell you what, man, last couple days, I've been throwing a lot more visual aid on the show clips, and they've been doing pretty well on Instagram. Throw some music on there, and I'll throw that G Herbo instrumental. I can't remember what the song name is. It goes, I'm about to know. Man, I got to just get a little loosened up. I went and closed my eyes for 5 minutes, 10 minutes. You throw a damn sleeping mask on and just cut yourself off from the stimuli of the world there for, 5 minutes, 8 minutes, or whatever the case. And this is the first time that I gave that a rip right before jumping on a podcast here. So we got to get the pipes warmed up a little bit. You guys know, you used to do the, what's that called? The red, yellow leather. Red leather, yellow leather. Red leather, yellow leather. So, we're going to do a couple of those just to kind of get warm, and then maybe jump into some calisthenics. Get the whole bicuspid area lathered up a bit before we start talking about ball here. I don't understand how Mike Vrabel, I love Mike Vrabel, by the way. I don't understand how long ago was the Super Bowl? A month ago at this point? How not 5-6 weeks ago, Mike Vrabel was going on, bussing with the boys, talking about how Diggsy was a key part of their team, and that he doesn't understand why anyone would come away with the notion that he's not a team guy. And then today, out of nowhere, Stefon Diggs is announced to not be returning to New England. I don't know what went into this. I don't know how we got here, but not 6 weeks ago did you have Mike Vrabel going on Busting with the Boys saying, we love Diggsy. We love Diggsy. So, and I meant to pull this up before the show, but we're just going to have to pull it up now. I want to see what his numbers ended up being for the year. 85 catches, 102 targets, 1,013 receiving yards, and 4 touchdowns. Let's be real. New England's passing game, less than robust. He was clearly the number one option. I would be shocked not to see New England aggressively go after receivers in the draft. But I'm trying to understand why New England chose to release Diggs after the start of the league year. Alec Pierce is going to be exploring free agency. He said it himself. I love Indy, but at this point, I've kind of earned the right to explore free agency. Daniel Jones was hit with a transition tag. This is very rarely used in the NFL, and based on what I understand, it's a 1-year tender that allows teams to retain an impending free agent while giving him the right of first refusal to match any offer sheet from another team. So, I know the Vikings could be interested in a quarterback. If Aaron Rodgers doesn't return, could the Pittsburgh Steelers be interested in pursuing Daniel Jones at quarterback? Arizona Cardinals. I've heard talk about the Arizona Cardinals potentially taking Ty Simpson with the 28th. I think they have the 28th overall pick. Taking Ty Simpson. That's absolutely disgusting to me. Utterly brutal if you're a Cardinals fan to think that your QB room next year could be Jacoby Brissett, who I love, by the way, as a person, not a franchise quarterback, and Ty Simpson in your quarterback room. It is a bad fucking time in the NFL to need a quarterback right now. And I got a lot of complaints as a Bengals fan. Quarterback is not one of them. I'm still trying to unpack and come to terms with the fact that Trey Hendrickson's on his way out. Like I've said many times before, I feel like Trey quit on our team this season, and I think there aren't that many Bengals fans that will tell you that they feel one way or another on Trey heading out. I think it's pretty mixed. There are a lot of Bengals fans saying that he made a great contribution and that he's the greatest free agent signing in the history of the Bengals. Look, if Trey Hendrickson is the greatest free agent signing in the history of the Bengals, that's sad as all get out. That's pathetic as hell on the part of the Bengals, in my opinion. Nothing against Trey. Look, the guy led the league in sacks in 2024. Team didn't make the playoffs and also had the quarterback go for 40-plus touchdowns and 4,000 plus passing yards, and you had a Triple Crown winner at receiver on that team, and that team didn't make the playoffs. But I digress. If Trey Hendrickson's the greatest free agent signing in the history of the Bengals organization, that's a goddamn pathetic job by the Bengals organization. How many times can I say that, though? Remember how many times I make this about the Bengals on this show. Hey, by the way, if you guys are watching here for the first time, welcome to the show. This is In the Jar Football Show. That's a phrase that was used by my college head football coach to describe somebody that is puckered up, shelled up, pissed off, full of piss and vinegar. And we love ball so much on this show that we find a way to add a little piss and vinegar to the equation each and every day. Get in the jar. So make sure you smash that subscribe button while you're here. If you ain't sold yet, go check out the channel. We're live every single weekday, Monday through Friday, talking about football. And I digress. So Colts issue a transition tag on Daniel Jones, $37.8 million for 1 year. First time QB has been transition tagged since 96. Jeff George with the Atlanta Falcons. Daniel Jones coming off a broken leg and an Achilles tear. So we kind of described what a transition tag is. We'll go back over it here. You set a tag number. Player has the ability to go on open market. Any team can make an offer. Original team, so Indy gets a chance to match. And if there isn't a match, you get zero compensation. This is unlike the franchise tag, which confused me yesterday. I learned this on Twitter yesterday when Trey Hendrickson announced he wasn't coming back. He put a Nickelback song on his farewell Instagram post, by the way. I was pissed when I originally got that news. I thought this is typical Bengals. We let a guy go for nothing in return when we could have traded him last year, year before, et cetera, et cetera. What I didn't know is that with a franchise tag, you are given a compensatory draft pick if you choose to not tag a guy and let him walk. So you can get anywhere from a 7th-round pick all the way up to a 3rd-round pick, depending on the caliber of player that you let walk. And so with Trey, it's apparent the Bengals will get a 3rd-round pick out of it. So that's something I just learned. You'd think a guy would know ball, but there's always something new to learn. The risk of a transition tag, this is a very rarely used thing. You save $6 million, but you lose all your leverage that you would have with a franchise tag. So, like I said, the Vikings would definitely be interested in Daniel Jones. They used to have him in the building, by the way. Here's the thing about the Minnesota Vikings. Think about in the last couple of years how many, really I'm thinking of 2 guys here, the quarterbacks that you've let walk in the last 2 or 3 years. You let Sam Darnold walk after a 14-win season or whatever. You let him walk. Again, I'm not in these boardroom meetings. I'm not back there behind closed doors. There's a lot of things that could have gone on that I don't know about. But you let Sam Darnold walk, the Vikings, you let Sam Darnold walk after a 14-win season, kind of head-scratching. And then you have Daniel Jones roll through that building just for a little bit. I'm pretty sure he was only on the roster for I don't even know if he was on the roster, but he was in their building. He was on the P squad or something. You got Daniel Jones in there. And you let him walk. And then he goes and has a tremendous season with Indy. They start out 8-0. They're the talk of the league. And then they did have one of the most meteoric collapses I've seen in the second half of the season in a while. Anyone who's a hater could attribute that to the fact that their owner is female. I'm not going to do that because I enjoyed my time in Indianapolis working there. I got to know all of the Irsay daughters. Not that way. They're respectable people. They always smile at them in the hallway. They're good people. So I'm not gonna go there with the Colts. But what if the Vikings offered Daniel Jones $45 million for 2 years? Then the Colts have to match that, or they lose him for nothing. So again, everybody that's in these meetings knows something that none of us can ever know. So all we can do is speculate. That's our job on this show. We're just trying to make sense of it. So the compounding problem with Indy, you can only tag one player. Daniel Jones gets transition tagged. So that means Alec Pierce, who's very valuable to Indy, and I don't see Indy letting Alec Pierce, leave without putting up a big fight, because Alec Pierce is the kind of guy that the Indianapolis Colts salivate over. They salivate over a guy like that. A tall, long, athletic white. Are you kidding me? I mean, Alec Pierce played his college ball just up I-71 in Cincinnati. He's a Midwestern kid. He just fits. with the Indianapolis Colts. And I can't explain it any more than that. A white receiver that's as athletic as Alec Pierce is just so signaturely Indiana. And I can't elaborate on it any more than that. Jones without Pierce, according to some, significantly weakens Daniel Jones' ceiling. And I guess free agency is starting soon. I can't remember the date off the top of my head. There's something that happens on March 15th. So, with the franchise tag, you make the deal, you control the player. With a transition tag, you make the deal, but 30 other teams can outbid you. A lot of people think this is really dumb on the part of the Colts. Again, I don't think it's in anybody's wheelhouse right now with what we know to call anyone dumb if we're not in those boardroom meetings, if we're not in those war room meetings. And now Carly Ursay-Gordon, she's a second year now. This is going into her second season as an NFL owner. She might be trying to do something outside of the box. She might be trying to do something different. And if that's the case, and we're just doing something different for doing something different's sake, then yes, that would be a dumb decision to make on the transition tag. But a lot of times in these situations, there's conversations going on behind closed doors that none of us will ever hear, which make these moves make sense sometimes. So, and then with his health, I mean, his health is in question. That's definitely a variable here. There's still questions on whether Daniel Jones will even be ready for week 1. Last time Jones played hurt, he played it through a broken leg. And then the Achilles got torn, probably because of compensation. So maybe a guy that you want to take easy to start the year. Maybe a guy that you don't just want to roll right out of the gate. Okay, so here are other guys that got tagged. It looks like George Pickens got franchise tagged somewhere in the area of $27 million he'll get this year. Wanted a long-term deal. There's whispers that he might not show up without a deal. But the tag is a nice uptick for him. It's going to be interesting to see who's tagged, who on this list we're reading right here might hold out for training camp. I would guess that George Pickens is a prime holdout candidate, and I can't explain it any further than that. You know, it's, I don't know. George Pickens just seems like that kind of guy. He's a demon. He wears a ski mask. Is that racist? I'm not meaning to be racist. Kyle Pitts gets franchise tagged. $15 million coming off best season in years. Kyle Pitts finally had the kind of season where fantasy owners, not that they matter, but where fantasy owners were happy with drafting him. I feel like, how many years has he been in the league? 4 or 5 now? I feel like for the 3 years before this year, or the 4 years before this season, Kyle Pitts was a complete waste if you drafted him in fantasy. And again, not that fantasy matters. It's a fantasy. But it is a good indicator of how offensive players produce. And he wasn't worth a damn in fantasy because he wasn't really worth a damn in terms of real life on-field football production. But he finally became a factor this year. Now, I thought one of the dumbest head coaching moves of the year came with Atlanta firing Raheem Morris. I could not believe that, especially how well Atlanta played down the stretch. You look at a team who is down and out. Atlanta was down and out 4, maybe 5 weeks out from the end of the regular season. Maybe it was 3 or 4, but they were down and out for a few games at the end of the regular season. And the Falcons, they always say when you have a team that plays well without anything to play for, you know they love their head coach. And I saw Atlanta play their ass off in meaningless games. That Tampa Bay game late in the year, they played their ass off. That 29-28 victory December 11th. They won 4 straight to end the year. And you fire Raheem Morris. Falcons beat the Buccaneers on the road 29-28 in, what is that? So 17, 16, 15, 14, week 14. Meaningless game, too, by the way. So they had all 4 of these games that they won at the end of the year were meaningless games. And Atlanta wins 29-28 against Tampa in week 14, I guess. They beat Arizona on the road 26-19. I mean, Arizona, poverty organization, but still, they beat the LA Rams after that 27-24. That was a hell of a game. And then they beat the Falcons to end the year 19-17. Atlanta wins 4 straight. And they fire Raheem Morris. So, the reason I bring all that up, could Raheem Morris's departure affect Kyle Pitts' production? I feel like Arthur Blank's a really smart owner. I feel like he's done an incredible job for the most part. He's very well respected in the sports business. The stadium, Mercedes-Benz Stadium, is a beautiful place to go to a game. You got $3 pizza, $1.50 hot dogs. It's paradise for a fan. So Kyle Pitts gets franchise tagged. Probably in part. I mean, this kind of goes twofold. Maybe more than twofold. You have a great season from Kyle Pitts. I would imagine if Kyle Pitts had another shitty year this year, that they probably would have just let him go. But he has a great year. And so they want to see what he can do next year. But also, is he going to be able to keep up the same level of production he had this year under different circumstances? That is the question. So they franchise tag him. Breece Hall gets franchise tagged. $14.293 million. What would so if you go $14.293 million, 0.2 million would be $200,000. 9. Am I stupid? If it's $0.293 million, what is that? $293,000. So we're going down to the $1,000 there on that figure. Non-exclusive tag, which means he can negotiate with other teams. We're talking Breece Hall here. But the Jets, Jets are entitled to 2 first-rounders if somebody else signs Breece Hall. Hall posted, always been the type to bet on myself, been working, see y'all soon, whatever, dude, I don't care. And thanks. Implication, I don't want to be here. That's what people are making of that. I mean, there's conversations going around, and welcome to everybody here in the episode here today. It is popping today. Thank you guys for popping today. Pop something in the chat if you guys want to hear me address something. If not, that's cool too, because, I'm kind of retarded. Am I allowed to say that on YouTube? I think I am. I know certain words you're not allowed to say on YouTube. I won't say them. But they're like, I think the R word's cool. Do you guys think I'm cool saying the R word here on YouTube? I'll lay off of it. I'll be cool with it. Whatever. Alec M. Shout out to Alec M. What up to Lance? Hello to Josephine. Hello to Danielle. And all the other folks that are joining us in the chat. Lance says, my guy, how you been? Go Steelers. We've been doing good, Lance. Staying healthy. Continuing to train each evening. Continuing to hop on here each day. And paying the bills. So eating good. The sun's shining in Arizona. Lance, can't complain. The coffee's good. Really, absolutely nothing to remark upon in a negative fashion. Alex says that is a steep price for Hall. $14.293 million. I mean, listen, the Jets. I complain about being a Bengals fan a lot. The Jets are clearly the poverty organization in football. I'm talking the poverty organization in football. I think it's the Jets. The Cardinals are pretty close in regards to poverty. It's crazy, man. Like, I've lived in the Phoenix Valley here for the last 4.5 years. I think actually it's coming up on 5 years that I've been here. And the reason I came out here to Phoenix was to work for the Coyotes, which in hockey, which was a poverty organization. And the Suns were a poverty organization. I know they made the finals back when they had KD. I almost said we because I live here. I don't really know who my NBA team is. I grew up in Lexington, Kentucky, so, you know, I'm digressing. The Suns have a new ownership group, the Ishbias, that are respected. And then you got the Cardinals, who are complete dumpster fire. They force their ticket reps to wear these penguin suits on game days. It's absolutely preposterous what these folks that work for the Cardinals, God love them, I probably have a lot of them on LinkedIn, what these guys and gals, mostly guys, look like on game days, man. It's a humiliation ritual. I'm telling you guys, when I worked for the Colts in Indy, there was a dress code, but it's like, hey, do your thing, wear a nice suit, you know, or even with the Coyotes, as miserable as that experience was, you know, do your thing, wear a suit. But with the Cardinals, and they offered me a job. I don't mean to air them out right now. They're just a poverty organization. You know, they offered me a job, and when they told me what the salary was, I was just aghast. I was like, dude, you know, you do pay for that logo on your resume now. You do pay for it, but they make their reps at the Cardinals wear these black suits, and it's almost like a wedding style like tuxedo vest. It's in a white shirt and a red tie. It's goofy as all get out. Cardinals were in Super Bowl back in the day with Kurt Warner. Yes, they were. I actually watched that Super Bowl like a month ago. They had this marathon on NFL Network leading up to the Super Bowl, and I recorded all of them. And so when I sit down and eat dinner, I'll just watch one of them, pick one of them out, watch them. But that was the last time the Cardinals got there. And they haven't even sniffed it since. You know, like, I think my Bengals are arguably up there in the poverty land of poverty franchises. We went to the damn thing in 21. Don't know if we'll sniff it again. And there's absolutely no excuse for that. might I add. There's zero excuse with the quarterback you got there. Alec thinks the Raiders are on the rise this year. Kind of tough for me to get behind that right now, sir. I'm liking Mendoza more and more and more. I am liking him more and more. Personality, my inclination during Indiana's rise and obviously Fernando's rise this year was to be an SEC supremacist and reject anything in the name of Jesus Christ that wasn't the SEC. And I rooted against Indiana at every single juncture. I wanted Ole Miss to win desperately, and I think Ole Miss will get a chance to do that this season, especially with big Trinidad Chambliss coming back to Oxford, Mississippi, coming back to the SIP. But that's another conversation. Fernando could be the answer, but also I'm not completely sold on it yet. I'm not past the notion that Fernando Mendoza could just be a good backup in pro football. I'm not sold on the idea of franchise quarterback just yet. He's got the charisma and he's got his own kind of energy, right? You look at a guy like Fernando Mendoza, and then you look at a guy like, say, Jackson Dart. Personality-wise, these guys are polar opposites. But they have equal charisma, I would say. And maybe that's all charisma is just the courage and boldness to do your own thing unapologetically. That's how Jackson Dart and Fernando Mendoza can be polar opposites and still have equal amount of charisma. I think Fernando Mendoza, as awkward and white as his ass is, and he's not even really white, now that I think about it, listen to his damn name. He's the whitest. He's definitely the whitest guy with a Hispanic name that I've ever heard from in my life. He's white as all get out. Just somebody that you would meet at a networking event. The kind of guy, this is the kind of guy Fernando Mendoza is. Fernando Mendoza is the guy that you meet at a wedding. You go to the wedding because the groom's your good buddy, and let's say Fernando is friends with the groom from high school or whatever, and you holler at him. And you think this guy's odd, but there's something about him I like. He's very odd. Fernando Mendoza is the kind of guy that if you're standing on Miami Beach and you spot a couple of Instagram models over in the Cove or whatever, squatted down in a thong bikini doing a photo shoot, Fernando Mendoza is the kind of guy that you put your arm around and you point over there and you see that over our buddy? It's easy on the eyes, ain't it? And Fernando Mendoza would be the kind of guy that'd be like, yep, sure is easy on the eyes, isn't it? Yeah. And I fuck with it. Excuse me, I shouldn't say that many F-bombs, but I fuck with it. I mess with guys like that. They just kind of go with whatever you're laying down and not give you no trouble and just kind of like, yeah, those broads are good looking, aren't they? Okay, yeah. Oh Lord. So I don't know how I feel about Mendoza. I'm not sold on franchise quarterback yet. Alec, really appreciate you participating here in the chat, brother. Why don't Bengals management get Burrow some O linemen? Listen, guys. I heard Stephen A. Smith talk about this today. It's very frustrating. And I don't mean to throw young big dog Alex under the bus here, but Cincinnati had the best O-line that they've had with Burrow at quarterback this year. They played very poorly the first 6 weeks of the year. They finally started picking it up in week 6 on the road against Green Bay when Flacco stepped in. This is the thing. Like, if you don't follow the Bengals, like I've talked to a lot of football fans that don't follow the Bengals heavily. And why would you follow every team heavily you're not a fan of? Like, I don't expect somebody to understand what's going on with the Bengals as well as I do. Because I care about the Bengals. That's my team. So it is frustrating, though, because they did have the best offensive line in the Burrow era this past season. They re-signed Dalton Risner, who made a lot of great contributions. You have Amarius Mims over there at right tackle, Ted Karras at center. He's but he created the Cincy hats and stuff, so that's cool, you know. You had kind of a revolving Dalton Risner was at right guard, I believe. You kind of had a revolving door, I believe, at left guard. And Orlando Brown at left tackle, I will admit, was absolutely terrible for a lot of the year. Notice that Orlando Brown's stance is very, very narrow. Like when his feet are standing together, like they're this close. I'm serious, like in actual space, like this close. And I'm thinking, how the hell do those how does that narrow stance support that big-ass body of his? But Orlando Brown was, to me, the weakest link on the Bengals' offensive line by far. And in past years, he's been a captain. He's been one of the most important guys on that O-line. And this year, he ended up being definitely the glaring issue with Cincinnati's O-line. I'm trying to think who was playing left guard. Cody Ford was playing guard some. He's struggled. He's had his struggles. If I'm not remembering Bengals, who is it? It's Dylan Fairchild, the rookie out of Georgia. And he played well at times. He played well but struggled. He's a rook. You know, Amarius Mims struggled with injuries. So, all that to say, the Bengals O-line stopped being an issue after week 6 at Green Bay. The catch to that is that is the week that Logan Wilson got benched and the defense started falling apart. You know what the Bengals defense is lacking? Leadership. Veteran leadership. Trey Hendrickson wasn't that guy. Hate to break it to everybody. He kind of quit on them this past year. Now, is the Bengals organization completely inept and dysfunctional and probably breaks even the strongest spirits? Absolutely. I'll play devil's advocate with Trey Hendrickson there. But he was not the leader of this unit. Whether it's because his will was broken or whatever. I think it's clear that Trey Hendrickson's not going to let the door hit his ass on the way out of Cincinnati. He is done. He's ready to go. Get away from the dysfunction, the contagious complacency that is rotting that Cincinnati Bengals facility from the inside out. No, Trey Hendrickson was not the leader. So let me tell you guys, and I'm trying to fucking get to the point. The story of the Bengals season this year, offensive line struggled mightily the first 6 weeks of the year. You go on the road to Green Bay in week 6. Joe Flacco literally off I-71 to start that game. The offense struggled in that first half against Green Bay, but then they came out and they played ball that literally had every Bengals fan hopeful for the rest of the year. The caveat to that was that for some reason, Al Golden and Zach Taylor chose to bench the only leader on the defense, Logan Wilson, in favor of rookie Barrett Carter. So then you have two rookies who most of the year didn't look like they knew whether it was a damn rooster they were chasing or a running back. And the defense started falling apart. So it's the lack of cohesion, it's the lack of complementary football that really was the story of the Bengals. The O-line I don't see as a problem anymore, which is why it kind of bothers me. Again, maybe I'm expecting everybody else to be me and know what I know about the Bengals. But I saw Stephen A. Smith talk about the O-line again this year and blaming Burrow getting injured on that. And it's like, dude, first of all, the offensive line played well from week 6 on. Second of all, the injury that Joe sustained in week 2 was really a fluke toe injury. And the discussion of whether Joe Burrow is injury susceptible or not is totally fair, by the way. But it's a toe. Like, yes, they allowed a sack to force that injury to happen. But that's lazy, Stephen A. Smith, to continue to blame the Bengals O-line. They cleaned it up. And I'm the first person, by the way, as a Bengals fan, to criticize the organization, to criticize the team. I feel like I make most of the show around that. But the offensive line, to say that the Bengals offensive line was the problem the entire season is a misaligned narrative. They cleaned it up after week 6. It was the defense that started falling apart after that. Matthew Barrett, welcome to the program. I think the Bengals are all going defense in the draft. Yes. So according to this tweet from Evan Siddery, who is an NFL and NBA reporter, Evan Siddery, the Bengals plan to pursue multiple defensive starters in free agency, utilizing the money they could have paid Trey Hendrickson. That's per Ian Rappaport. Cincinnati plans to be aggressive, overhauling their defense to compete immediately next season. I'll believe it when I see it, motherfuckers. What does aggressive mean? Oh, we made one free agency signing. We signed Khalil Mack. Retards! I mean, I just have no faith in the Bengals front office to do the right thing. Zero faith. These people are smooth-brained idiots. That's just how I see it. I think they are going to waste Joe Burrow. I'm worried to even watch the damn draft. It doesn't matter if I watch the draft or not. I'll get a ticker on my phone, but I swear, the way the Bengals draft, when they draft, I swear to God, this is what they're thinking. They're thinking, okay, here's the board. How can we enrage as many of our fans as possible? Winning doesn't matter. I care about rage baiting. How can we enrage our fans as deeply and intensely as possible right here with this pick? You take Shamar Stewart in the first round last year. Oh, my God. Over Jihad Campbell out of Alabama? Did you see how he played for Philly this year? Jamar Chase had more tackles than Shamar Stewart did this year. I think this is an out-of-the-box pick that'll really make waves in the rookie defensive market. They're idiots. They are idiots. And I'm a Bengals fan. The Bengals front office is riddled with idiots. And listen, guys, I'm a part of a family business. I understand when, if you're not careful in a family business, you might surround yourself with a bunch of yes men that say, oh yeah, drafting Shamar Stewart would be a great idea. I think that's a fine idea. I think that would really be good. And people who are susceptible to ego clouding their consciousness will be, you know what? He's right. I'm right. This is an outside of the box pick. And I think that's what happens with Cincinnati a lot. I think somebody at the top in the family, and don't get it twisted, Duke Tobin doesn't have Brown or Blackburn as his last name, but Duke Tobin, the de facto GM, every time I mention his name, I have to explain who he is because the Bengals can't even be normal enough to have a real GM. Okay? So every time I bring up Duke Tobin, I got to explain that he's the de facto GM. And don't get it twisted. He's part of the family, too. His dad, Bill Tobin, was great friends with Mike Brown, the owner. So he's a part of the family, too. You think most NFL organizations, well, you can't fire the owner. That's true with every NFL organization. But what if I told you that with the Cincinnati Bengals, you can't fire the owner or the GM? Oh, but wait, he's not even really the GM. He's the de facto GM because we can't be normal. We can't get out of our own way. So I have no faith in the Bengals. I mean, look, what is it, the 10th pick that they have? If you don't take Caleb Downs with that pick, you're an idiot. And they won't. Like, they'll literally think, how can I enrage Clark Dupree with this draft pick right here? Okay, let's not take Caleb Downs. That's what the Bengals are going to do. They're going to make whatever pick completely enrages me because the world revolves around me. Let's check the chat here. Thanks for everybody popping in, guys. This has been a fun episode. Mendoza. Okay, let's start here. Why don't Bengals, man? We already answered that. Mendoza, a very white Cuban mix, I guess. Very smart and good young man, though. Yeah, he's dope. I really, like I said, the SEC in me really wanted to dislike him, but he's really come around, man. I really enjoy listening to him talk. I really would enjoy a conversation with him because of how autistic it would be. Matthew Barrick says, I think the Bengals are all going defense in the draft. Yeah, we just talked about that. And the thing about that, too, is you have to get some veterans. I think the Bengals think that, like, we could put it all from – we can – and you know why the Bengals do this? The Bengals draft instead of go to free agency because they want to get cheap players. And no, the Bengals are not beating the cheap allegations at all. At all. You know Katie Blackburn, the daughter of the owner, Mike Brown, who is reportedly in charge of everything, even though she looks mentally challenged. Somebody caught a picture of her flying from Cincinnati to Charleston on a Southwest flight in economy. We're talking about a literal NFL owner flying economy on Southwest Airlines to Charleston. Are you kidding me? And look, I'm all for being frugal. I'm all for the frugality. I'm not into frugality to the point where it's crippling in regards to making decisions. And I feel like that frugality comes into contract negotiations with the Bengals that hamper things. It comes into free agency spending, which hampers things. And they just think, oh, yeah, with the smallest scouting department in the league, we know what we're doing in the draft. You draft freaking Shamar Stewart. Oh, bust. You draft freaking Jordan Battle. Terrible. Dax Hill hadn't worked out. McKinley Jackson. Terrible. Didn't even know who he was until he requested a trade. And the list goes on. I can't even think of the rest of the other guys that were busts because they're totally irrelevant now. But that's why the Bengals don't make splashes in free agency. They want to draft young guys to get the cheapest option instead of trying to win now. And hopefully they change that. But there's a lot of people in my life that remind me of Bengals ownership, and the last thing that these kind of people are going to do is change their ways, which is exactly what keeps them in their own way. So what I would do as a GM, and there's actually a GM simulator online. Somebody created it. I'm thinking about making some content around it on what I would do as a Bengals GM, but we'll get to that in another video. What I would do if I were the Bengals is I'm going to add 2 or 3 core defensive free agency players that I know can lead the unit, guys that have been there and done that. And you build around those guys, not unreliable, unproven rookies like Demetrius Knight and Barrett Carter. That's what happened last year. That's why the defense was terrible. I'm not saying Barrett and Demetrius are terrible. I'm saying that they were not ready. And the Bengals, being the first folks to get in their own way, are going to force the issue and say, no, let's just see how it goes. Let's just see how it goes. And yet you say you want to win now. It's just mixed messaging. Actions don't match up with words. That's what happens in dysfunctional situations a lot of the time. Stephen A. Smith, I don't like him. I mean, everybody makes some dumbass takes from here to there. I've made some idiotic takes on this show, and we've only been doing this for 2 years. I like some of his takes. I would love to debate him about the Bengals because he keeps talking about the O-line. And as we've covered in this episode, the O-line is not the issue right now. It was the issue. It's not the issue anymore. Said I sounded like Jerry Jones there for a minute. That's funny. Down there, well, we got to get CD going. Well, Micah was an interesting case. You see, it's all about sales. That's Jerry Jones. Browns and Deshaun Watson deal are pretty bad. Yeah, that's terrible. The Cardinals are going to have to pay Kyler Murray like $36 million or something next year. The Bengals drafted him, and he didn't even want to play for the Bengals. He wanted to get paid. Talking about Shamar Stewart there. Jim 8830, welcome to the chat, Jim. Diggs gone. WTF? Bad news. Bad news. After all he did and is yet capable of, this is bad karma. Bad, bad, bad. Karma can bite hard. Bad move. Interesting. Yeah, like I said, Vrabel was literally on Bussin' with the Boys 6 weeks ago, talking about how Diggsy was one of the best team players they've got, and he was clearly the best receiver this year. I don't know what they were thinking, letting him walk. I mean, I would guess that it was because he was hard to deal with, talking about an extension, and Kraft just didn't want to deal with it. I don't know. I really... this news just dropped like a couple hours ago, so I really don't know what the other factors are around that. We are going to have to get going here soon, guys. I think I'm going to head to wrestling practice here. Caleb Downs is rumored to go to Dallas at 12. I mean, if the Bengals pass on Caleb Downs, dude, I'll break my TV. I'll literally break it. But these folks do this for a living. Do I think I could run a team as well as the Brown Blackburn family? Yes. But for the most part, I feel like NFL people have a reason for what they're doing. I'm not sure if the Brown family does. Been a minute since the Bengals defense was pretty good. Yeah, we had a good defense in the 2021 run. You had Awuzie at DB, Cheeto Awuzie or whatever his name is. He's in Baltimore now. You had Jesse Bates at safety. Still can't believe we let him walk. You had DJ Reader at interior D-line. Can't believe we let him walk. Logan Wilson was a really big part of that defense. Jermaine Pratt was a really big part of that defense. Sam Hubbard was a really big part of that defense. You obviously had Trey. I'm going to get teary-eyed just thinking about the last time the Bengals had a good defense. It was half a decade ago, and Duke Tobin continues to hang their hat on that. I mean, even in the press conferences, the exit press conferences for this season, all Duke Tobin and Zach could say is, this group's done this before. This group's done this before, and we know we can do it again. Half a decade ago. I mean, we're living in the past. That's the problem Kentucky basketball has. I was just thinking about Kentucky basketball. I've been thinking about them for last couple days, last couple weeks, because they've been terrible. One of my buddies, I guess, was in Rupp Arena today, and they were in the locker room, and so they took a picture in the locker room, and Kentucky basketball's locker room is still basically a 2012 national championship exhibit. 2012. You don't think that doesn't affect players? The fact that the theme of our entire locker room is based on a game that happened almost 15 years ago. We're living in the past. And I get backlash. I've been posting TikToks criticizing Kentucky basketball lately and Kentucky's athletic program as a whole lately. And all of the comments, oh, we beat Duke last year. We have the most wins in college basketball. 8 national championships. Where is that now? You guys help me find the past anywhere around me right here? Is it in the room with us? 8 national championships. 15 years ago, motherfucker. And I'm saying this out of love. I want to see the Kentucky basketball do well. But God, if resting on laurels ain't the worst cancer I ever heard of. Complacency wasn't the most poisonous thing I've ever conceived of. It's unbelievable. Absolutely unbelievable. We got a lot of people in here. We're coming up on an hour. We've got 50 people in here right now, it says. That is a lot. I really appreciate everybody popping in and it looks like hanging in here for the past hour. Again, if you guys are new to the show, we do this every single weekday, and we've been doing this every single weekday for a little bit now, around 6 Eastern, Monday through Friday. You can watch replays on YouTube. Now, the replays are vertical. You'll notice the podcast is vertical. Why do we do that? So that we show up in people's shorts feeds so that folks like you discover our show. So, if you ever want to see this show go horizontal, I need you to do one thing. I need you to hit that subscribe button right there. I think it's right there in white on your screen. Literally, maybe like here. Hit that button for me. And if you're not sold yet, go and check out the channel. You'll see that we're very consistent. We come with new stuff every single day. And the only way you're going to be able to stay up to date with it is if you hit that subscribe button. It doesn't cost anything. You won't get added to an email list. I'm not going to jump through your screen and stare at you or whatever. I'm not going to do none of that. So make sure that you hit that subscribe button for me. And if you don't, just double tap the damn screen. We got a lot of people in here. I'm going to be able to see whether anybody took action or not. Alec back in the chat, most guys only stay in Kentucky to play 1 year and then turn pro. That's been the way it's been there for a long time, and it's different now that Cal's gone. But it's been that way at Kentucky for a long time. They won a championship. They did. But a lot of people think that they should have won 3 or 4 championships. And I think it's just a complete cancer on the culture of that program that everybody continues to just rest on laurels. Like I said, I post clips criticizing Kentucky basketball, and all Kentucky fans do is pour into my comments talking about the past. Not talking about right now, you're talking about the past. And a lot of that you can blame on Mitch Barnhart. Dude, I saw a post from UK Athletics from a couple days ago, like trying to commemorate Mitch Barnhart's achievements. And it's an absolute joke. And then I have friends or whatever who, have different interests and different outlooks, reposting that puff piece about Mitch Barnhart. It's complete delusion. The guy, it's a blessing to the program that the guy is leaving. Now, I'm sure he'll have his dusty ass hand in whoever they hire next, which, if that's the case, will probably be another dolt, and Kentucky athletics will just be in purgatory again for the next 20, 30 years, because no matter how bad of a job the next AD does, they won't fire him, just like with Barnhart. It's just, it's something in the water over there in Central Kentucky. It's my home. I'm from there. I love who it made me. There's just something in the water over there. It's delusion. It's complacency. It's this toxic antithesis to whatever it takes to have successful athletic programs. I don't know. And I mean, you go up north about an hour to Cincinnati in the Bengals office, and it's the same thing. So I don't know what's going on there. I spent a lot of my life there, and I still don't know. It's just very interesting. I feel like if I stayed on here for 8 hours, you guys would hang in today. I almost don't want to go because we don't have we've got a lot of people in here right now. We've had 50 hanging tight for like 15, 20 minutes. It's absolutely insane. I really appreciate the support, guys. Please make sure you subscribe. And if you're not sold on it yet, I get it, but go and check us out. Bare minimum. We're live every single weekday. I hate leaving with so many people in here, but it's time. It's time, guys. So make sure and hit subscribe. Literally, if you enjoyed the show, you need to do it now. If you haven't, I'm being too pushy. Do what you want to do. So yeah. It's crazy, man. It's pretty cool. We got a lot of people in here watching, and I really appreciate you guys. You can catch audio episodes on pretty much any audio platform we can think of. I got to update all of those. So if you want to listen to older episodes in the car, be my guest. I'll make sure and update that as soon as I can so you can force your girlfriends to listen to it on the way to your next date. And with that, I'm going to head out. I think I'm going to go to wrestling practice. I'm pretty late. But make sure you guys subscribe. The more of you that subscribe, the closer we get to changing the show for the better. The closer we get to changing my life for the better, because I plan on giving my life to this shit. I love ball. I love talking about ball. So let's go, man. I should see 50 new subs on my channel when I check YouTube Studio later. I should see 50 new subs. Appreciate Alec participating. Appreciate Matthew Barrick participating. Appreciate Jimbo participating. Appreciate Lance participating. And Miss Josephine. Everybody in here. Make sure you guys subscribe, man. I'm going to see it. I'm going to know. It doesn't really matter. I mean, if you're sold, you're sold. If you're not, you're not. It's fine. The Mets beat Israel in baseball today. I'm going to leave you guys with that. Holler at me. Y'all take care. And we'll see all of you here tomorrow on In the Jar Football Program. My name's Clark Dupree. Hope you guys enjoyed. Make sure you like and subscribe. I won't push any further than that. Appreciate y'all.